Standing there in Statuary Hall outside the chambers. Tell us, walk us through the day. It appears to be on schedule right now. You've got a guest with you, I see.
I do, and we just saw House Speaker Nancy Pelosi make her way to the floor, Lester, and we anticipate that she will speak sometime shortly. But you're right, I am standing here with Congressman Mark Meadows from the great state of North Carolina.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yep.
Close friend of President Trump's.
Yep.
What's he thinking right now? I know you have his ear. What does he have to say about impeachment?
Well, I think it's a sad day for our country. It's not as much for the President of the United States. He knows that he didn't do anything wrong. He knows that this is a partisan effort. But it's a sad day for our country. We could be doing so many other things. We could be fixing roads and bridges. We could be lowering prescription drug prices. We could actually be passing legislation that's meaningful to people back home. And in spite of that, the economy continues to roar. But the president is certainly in a somber mood because he sees what this is doing to the country and how it's dividing the country. And yet support for impeachment continues to fail.
But what would you say to those who say it's the president's behavior, his actions, his own dealings with his Ukrainian counterpart that in effect divided the country when it was unearthed in that whistleblower complaint?
Well, I can tell you that there's only two problems with that. It's really the behavior of the Democrats that we're concerned about here today. I mean, bringing forth an impeachment based on the flimsiest of evidence and certainly a lot of hearsay. But the other part of that is you got a real problem. You got President Zelensky, the #1 guy in Ukraine. You've got the #2 and the #3 person in Ukraine, all of which say not only was there no linkage to aid and any ask for political favors, but that they felt no pressure. So you've got fact witnesses, the very victims of this crime, that alleged crime, that literally are saying that there's nothing there, and yet we're embarking on an impeachment. It's just wrong.
We should say, though, that Democrats say that the mountain of evidence and testimony tell a very different story.
Well, the mountain of hearsay. And listen, nobody's been in more depositions and more hearings than me. I can promise you I've seen it. I've looked in the eyes just like I'm looking in your eyes, just like I'm looking to the American people right now. And what I've been able to see is time and time again, when the president has been exonerated either by testimony or by direct evidence, the Democrats have ignored it. Their rush to impeachment, we had 3 impeachment votes before there was ever a Ukrainian phone call. Now all of a sudden, what's going to be next?
But it wouldn't be hearsay if the president would allow folks like Mick Mulvaney, like Secretary Mike Pompeo, like John Bolton to come forward and tell what they know. That seems to be the thing that Democrats are trying to do in the Senate.
I know that's what they're trying to say. But and I've been one that's supportive of Secretary Pompeo, Secretary Perry, people who would actually have been part of that process, actually having them come testify. But it's an unfair process. Here's the problem. If you don't believe the 3 people that were the supposed victims of this crime, you don't believe them, why, if Secretary Pompeo comes forward and says there's nothing there, would they believe him? Oh, no, he works for the president. This is not your first rodeo. You understand how this works. And what they're going to do is try to make sure that this is all about politics.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.